of 22 damage control repair people was wiped out immediately.
Pedro Sandoval and his damage control crew wait in Enterprise's sickbay, where the explosion catches them completely by surprise.
And we got hit by the bombs, and that ship felt like a Model T going in a rough road. I told the guys, let's get out of here because the sickbay was full of smoke.
Sandoval leads his comrades to safety, then makes his way to his battle station on the hangar deck.
I got up in the hangar deck and went to my shop, and right beside me is a kid there laying down calling for his mother. He might have been 18 years old. He wanted water. I went to give him water, and the gunman said no. He said, you don't have him. The back of his head's gone.
James Barnhill is 2 levels above the flight deck when the bomb hits. His younger brother, also serving aboard Enterprise, is directing anti-aircraft fire from Sky Control.
I glanced back up at Sky Control where I could ordinarily see him, and I didn't see him anywhere, and it looked like Sky Control was crumpled way over to the side, and I started crying.
Fortunately, Barnhill is mistaken. Sky Control has been strafed, but it still stands, with no casualties. Barnhill's mistake is just a case of combat nerves.
The bomb had hit just below us and blew all those guys' parts on up there with us, and yeah, I guess I was in shock.
The sound of explosions seemed to go on forever. This is the first direct hit the Big E has ever suffered. Reeling in shock, groping blindly about in the clouds of thick smoke, the surviving sailors desperately fight to save the ship. The Big E is hit and listed, just as another squadron of dive bombers begin their assault. August 24th, 1942. Near the island of Guadalcanal, USS Enterprise is assaulted by combined aerial attacks. At 4:44 p.m., a dive bomber makes a direct hit on the Big E's deck.
We took terrible casualties down there with the repair crews. They would be locked into their particular area, and with all the hatches locked down and everything, and they just sat there and waited.
The devastation is just beginning. 30 seconds later, a Val scores another direct hit, 15 feet from the first one. The explosion detonates the powder bags in the 5-inch gun tubs, and a massive ball of fire plumes over the ship.
There were 2 5-inch gun crews there. Both crews were just wiped out instantly. And there were shoes that had been on the feet of those people that had been blown out of those positions there by the concussion of that blast.
38 men are instantly burned alive.
They were at their duty loading ammunition into the 5-inch guns. Some of the people were frozen in that position as they found them. Some getting ready to hand shells to someone else. The gun captain in his little cradle pointing the gun. It was a very eerie sight.
Among the dead is Ace McCullum's twin brother, who had predicted his own death that morning.
When they hit back there, then I knew he went.
10 men are so horribly burned that they are never identified.
There was a guy sitting on the gun mount without any clothes on, burned right off, and he was cooked and burned open. His body had burst open in rivulets, like a cooked hot dog, and just his web belt was still around his waist. Head was gone. There were just clumps of body laying on the gun mount platform.
For months after that, you couldn't eat because the smell of the flesh was in there all the time.
As Enterprise trails smoke and flame, her damage control crews leap into action through the now listing carrier to control the fires. During all of this, every gun on deck continues to spew out flak. "1,000 yards away, USS North Carolina blasts planes out of the sky with a deadly barrage.
We have 10 5-inch guns going off at the same time. We were firing so fast that they burned the paint off the barrels. Can't remember how many rounds we fired, but it was a lot. 400, 500 rounds we fired in that 7 minutes.
But 2 minutes after the second bomb hits, another enemy dives.
I'd been standing out on the port wing of the bridge, and I saw this plane coming down from out of nowhere. And it dropped what looked like a pea, and pretty soon it became a baseball. And then it was a grapefruit. And by the time it got to be a watermelon, I said, time for me to head inside. And I got behind the armor plating of the pilot house. And about that time, whoom!
A third bomb, 500 pounds of enemy hell, nails Enterprise just forward of the number 2 elevator. The blast punches a 10-foot hole in the flight deck and knocks out the elevator platform.
It went down into the hangar deck space and exploded in pieces. But the worst damage was back aft, where it set the ship on fire, broke down the steering mechanism.
Up on the bridge, Captain Arthur Davis orders a full left rudder, but the helmsman cannot get the rudder to answer. The bomb has hit the steering mechanism. Enterprise is careening out of control. Now, the entire task force must turn in circles around Enterprise to keep from ramming into her.
We were going round and round in circles. The flight deck was at quite an angle, and we were losing airplanes over the side. They would just fall off the side.
To lose the helm in the middle of a battle, that's the worst thing that the captain of a ship could ever live to see.
Enterprise turns in hopeless circles and nearly collides with the destroyer.
We couldn't steer out of the way of other ships. We were panicked. We had fires, we were damaged below decks.
We were circling in a very tight circle and blowing the emergency whistle to keep the other ships out of our way, to keep from colliding with them. And we circled, for quite